What's up everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is Richie. I'm a V2 climber looking to get up to the V7 level. This week I'm going through 3 different projects and 1 bonus climb, so stay tuned to see them all. The first project of this week is a green V2, which is a lot of fun because it's super close to the ground and you have to use a lot of core strength to be able to keep your back off the mat. It's a very long course and it's very taxing on the forearms, as you'll see here. This is my first attempt ever trying this climb, and as you can see here, I have absolutely no idea what to do with my legs. I tried putting them around my elbows, I tried putting them on the volume, I tried putting them on the handholds, and it just seems like nothing will work until eventually my hands give out and I just can't go anymore, and man, does this climb get your forearms pumped. Typically my long legs are a huge asset for me, but on this climb they just keep getting in the way and I have no idea where to put them. Eventually I try to figure 4 them around my right arm and then go for the next hold with my left hand, but honestly this is where I figured out that I have no idea how to figure 4 because I try to go for it, but it just isn't going. I don't know how people get the leverage to do anything when they're in the figure 4 position. The next few attempts I'll speed up for the sake of time, but I make solid progress in each one, and as you can see here I eventually get up to the next volume. The biggest problem is that forearm pump that just doesn't seem to go away, and you spend so long getting off of the first volume that by the time you get to the second, your hands are just gassed and you don't know what to do because you can barely hold on to the wall anymore. In order to keep as much fatigue as possible off of my forearms and off of my fingers, I need to figure out the best place to put my feet and my legs. That's what I work on the most in the next couple of climbs, and of course I have some tips from Onmal, and I figure out that putting my feet onto those little footholds isn't very useful until after I get on to the next volume. This is my last attempt on day 1 of climbing this week, but as you can see here I'm making a decent amount of progress. I have my feet on the volume where I think they're supposed to be. I can just barely reach the next volume, but I can't support my weight on it because my forearms are just too gassed, but we'll see if we can figure that out later in the week. This next attempt is a huge one by Onmal. He flies through the beginning of the course, he straddles the volume, gets his hands over to the middle, then gets his hands over to the left. He uses a little knob on the bottom of the volume that I can't quite use because my legs are too long, but then he grabs onto the next handhold in the next volume, puts his feet up on the original volume. He hesitates a little bit here, but he gets his foot onto the little foothold, his right foot onto the second volume, then he reaches for the third volume again with his left hand, and now he's secured his spot. He just needs to get his left foot over to the far volume where that little green knob is, then he's golden. Grabs that left underhand, then goes straight for the right above the volume, and it's home free from here. Grabs onto the top hold and then matches for the send. Great job to Onmal, another amazing send. He's really blown me out of the water at this point. Now we'll take a look at my second day of attempts of this climb this week. And I promise I'm not wearing the same clothes even though it looks like it. But let's get into it. I start off this climb just like I did last week. Need to figure out a way to put my feet around the volume so that I can progress from the first volume. It's a little tough, a little taxing the forearms, but nothing crazy, not reinventing the wheel here. Still doing a decent amount of experimenting with what to do with my legs here. Not exactly sure where to put them that's ideal. There's not a lot of space, my legs are long. I tried that little green knob at the bottom right hand corner of the first volume that Onmal used to get his send, and it doesn't feel the worst, but I just don't feel like it's the best place for my foot. But anyways, once I get up to the next volume, my foot just slips off of the foothold, so I guess we have to try again. On this next attempt, I go back to using a heel hook on the initial start hold, and I like how this feels a lot better. But then as I move my hands onto the next hold, I also use the little stub at the bottom right of the initial volume, and I feel like this hybrid approach works pretty well with my body type. Now I just need to figure out what to do with my left foot. I decided to use a heel hook on my left foot to replace my left hand as I go for the next volume. I can get that no problem, but again my forearms are just so gassed that after I maneuver my feet a little bit, I just can't stay on the wall for very much longer. Alright, and with that we move on to project 2 of this week, and for those of you that have been following along, you're going to be intimately familiar with this one. It's that crimpy V4 upstairs. It's been driving me crazy trying to get it, and I just can't seem to make any progress on it. So let's see how we do this week. With this climb, I'm pretty sure the limiting factor is how strong my fingers are, and as the day goes on, they definitely get a lot weaker. So I promised myself that I won't do more than 3 or 4 attempts a day, and I won't try it every single day like I have been in the past, because it's just not conducive to making progress on this climb. With that being said, let's take a little look at the technique that we use for this climb, and if you guys have any suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments. It would be greatly appreciated. So I span across both volumes with my feet. This is no problem, I do it all the time. Then I move my hands to the next little crimps. After I get this position, I either back step with my left foot to the volume or just step over with my left foot. It doesn't really matter, it feels about the same to me. I've tried both. Then I shuffle my right foot up the volume, put my left foot back on the initial foothold. I use my left foot on the foothold to push off and try to grab the next handhold, but it's just too far away, or I can't get a good grip and I can't stay on the wall even if I do touch it. Alright, now this is that bonus project that I was talking about earlier in the video. This is my first time really using the kilter board. I've given it a try a couple of times. I just held on to the holes and it just seems so far out of reach. But now, with some peer pressure from Onmal, I try it again. And while I don't do great on it, it feels like I can actually do some of the easier climbs. So I might be trying this again in the future. And I'm just really excited because now I can actually hold onto the handholds. And I could never do that before, so I'm excited about that. Alright, and that brings us over to our third and final project of the week, and I've got exciting news about this one. For those of you that have been following along, you probably recognize this one as well. It's the blue V6 that's upstairs, and I've been working on this one like crazy. It's only going to be here this week and next week because it's already been up for almost 2 months, and I'm going to drive myself crazy if I don't get it eventually. It's a stretch for me, both as far as my abilities go and literally a stretch because I am tall enough to skip one of the hardest moves, which is why I think that I can get this V6. But this climb is something that I wouldn't have even have thought of attempting a few months ago, maybe even a few weeks ago. But I think something has changed since I started recording myself, and maybe it's because I'm putting them on YouTube or I don't know, but I'm going for a lot harder climbs. I used to be able to do a whole bunch of the easy climbs and just do them over and over, and I feel like I got really comfortable, but I've been pushing myself lately. I really want to get this V7 goal, so I'm doing everything I can, but I do feel like I've been focusing on some really hard projects, and I might go back next week to being able to do a whole bunch of the easier climbs just so I can get my confidence back, because it has been hard doing the hard climbs and not really making a lot of progress on them. But speaking of making a lot of progress, I actually do make a ton of progress on this climb this week, and I get so close to getting it, and I'll show you that now. Starts off just as usual, left hand over, then left foot over, then right foot over, then right hand over. Then I use the pressure from my hands to get my feet on the volume, get my left foot up to the top of the volume, and then I inch my way up to the top of the hold, and I actually grab it this time. But just as I grab it, my left foot slips off of the top of the volume, which is crazy because it's usually my right foot, and this is extremely frustrating. I panicked, I let go, and I don't know what to do, but this is supposed to be the last climb, but since I got so close, I'm going to give it one more go. Unfortunately, by this point in the day, I'm so tired I can't make any more progress, but I'm so excited with the progress I have already made that I know I'm going to get it next week, so stay tuned. If you made it this far into the video and you're enjoying the content, I'd greatly appreciate if you consider subscribing. And here's a video of Amal trying the same climb, so you can use a reference as someone that can't span across the whole thing. He has to use his fancy toe hook and then a foot switch, and he's having issues, but it's funny because he's having issues at a different spot than I'm having issues, and he can do the part that I'm struggling with.